Hello everyone, Joel Marshall here, host of this show that you're watching called Lunch Therapy, Joel Marshall's Lunch Therapy. This evening, this show is happening. It's a stage reading called When This Kiss Is Over. It stars me and Camila Lopez. If you want to RSVP, go to joelmarshall.com and send me a message. It's very limited seating. Probably like 20 seats, but you know what? We'll go find some more seats for you if we can. joelmarshall.com. It's at Coon Studio there at 3497 West Cahuenga Boulevard. If you happen to be in Los Angeles, that's over by Universal Studios. Really fun play, really intriguing stuff. You're going to really like it, I think. Jeff Gittel wrote this, and he is a terrific writer. So come on down. Equal means equal says come on down. At the beginning of the show, you saw the equal means equal installation that's going on over at the West Hollywood Library. For those of you that want something good to happen, pick up the phone, call people, we want Joe Biden to pick up the phone and call the archivist and get women in the Constitution finally, because women are not in the Constitution, and until you want them in the Constitution, you have to publish the Equal Rights Amendment that is fully ratified and ready to go. So there you go. Today on the show, I have Rex Sykes. A lot of you know Rex. He is an amazing person. I'm going to introduce him later on in the show, but he's written a book called Life on Your Terms. It's a terrific book, and he also does lots of programs to help people. He is a person who helps you get your mind right. So if you're feeling like maybe your mind is not quite up to par during these trying times, we're going to talk about that today on the show. So welcome to Lunch Therapy. There's going to be heavy on the therapy. All right. I'm going to get myself a modem. I'm going to get myself a modem. I'm gonna get myself a modem. I'm gonna get myself a modem. I'm gonna get myself a modem. All right, everybody. We got this beautiful, beautiful cat here behind me. Feeling fierce today. Feeling strong. Got Rex Sykes on here. For those of you out there that don't know what the show is, this is called Lunch Therapy. It shows on Tuesdays and Fridays. Tuesdays is a show that is heavy on the comedy. Bring comedians on. We do some investigation of mostly good news. It's a place where we do quizzes. We chat amongst ourselves. There's also a chat room today. Today is Interview Friday, so I'm going to interview somebody really dynamic, somebody inspiring. And I hope that you'll join in to the chat room. If you have any questions or any comments, please put them in the chat room. And let's get this thing going. We'll start the show with some breathing. Rex, welcome. Welcome to the breathing section of the show. This is Rex Sykes. He has his book behind us here. This is a part where he's just going to breathe. We're going to all breathe. We're going to go in through the nose, out through the toes. Taking a deep breath. And let it go. Another breath in through the nose, out through the toes. Let it go. One more time, in through the nose, out through the toes. Hold it. Let it go. Behind me, I have Healing Vibrations. I've borrowed their video here for you today, but you can go to their channel anytime. This happens to be a video where they go through all the chakras, starting with the lowest chakra all the way to the top. The video can take you all the way through. You can go there anytime. It's free for everybody. All right, and now we're going to look at some animals eating melons. This is a ring-tailed lemur eating a watermelon. Oh, wow, that's an elephant eating a watermelon. I find it very therapeutic to watch animals eating melons, grapes, sometimes candy wrappers. We try and show that on the show as much as possible. Definitely don't feed any of your animals candy wrappers. Not good for them. I saw a weird bug today. It was the craziest looking bug I've ever seen. It had 17 legs. It was a centipede. I don't know what it was doing in my studio, but apparently it's not too dangerous. It's called a house centipede. I don't know if I have the picture here. Lucky you, you're not going to see a house centipede because it was pretty startling, I'll tell you. Really interesting. Apparently they do have venom, but it can't hurt you that bad. Now on to the Patreons. This behind me is actually a community in India called Orville, I believe. Maybe Rex knows about this, but pretty cool looking place. It's a place that I think it's near Pondicherry in India, which is a French town, a little town where a lot of people speak French. And then there is this place called Orville. I don't know what this is. This looks like some thunder and lightning behind me. But that's not at Orville. Orville is here. I want to say thanks to all the Patreons. Patreon.com/Joel Marshall is where you can contribute to the show. Really helps me get the word out about the show. And that's why we can do the show. It's because otherwise it's not a show. All right, thanks to everybody. Kamala Lopez, Todd Lee, Liz Lopez, Robert Lopez, Jay Patterson, Mike Knox, Pam Palmieri. Let's get into this show called Lunch Therapy Interview Friday. Rex Sykes, behind me is a hummingbird moth. We call ourselves the hummingbirds on this show. It's because hummingbirds are strong, mighty animals, birds, and they nurture the plants and they transform things around them. Rex Sykes is someone who transformed his life after a skydiving accident. That I think I want to hear that story. He has since dedicated over 4 decades to helping others transform their minds and lives. He's developed innovations like mind design, the attitude activator, and directed questions. He is a master trainer of NLP, which is neuro-linguistic programming, and something called DHE, which I'm going to have to ask him about that. He's a master hypnotherapist, hypnotist. He also is a mentalist. He has a whole career where he was a mentalist, performing mental gymnastics, like a magician almost. He is a master of something called whole brain and accelerated learning, as well as the law of attraction. A lot of you have heard of that. He founded Idea Seminars and is a professional speaker, coach, business consultant, educator, and author. He also blogs, does multiple podcasts, is an actor. He has seminars, workshops, training events on rexsykes.com. Check that out. We'll talk about that. He's also a keynote speaker. And he just is putting good things out into the world. And you know what? He's the brother of Ginny Sikes, the none other than Ginny Sikes. So that's cool. Interview Friday, let's do it.
I'm the author of life on your terms, create the life you want. And so my goal, my purpose, my entire life has been dedicated to helping people just like you and me change what they're doing, transform their mindset. When this is right, when your attitude is right, when your thinking is right, when your mindset is right, when you are the kind of person, because of your thinking, for whom these things become easier, then you will do the right things. You'll feel the right way. You'll be able to use your own inner guidance to get the kind of results that you want to get by taking the right kind of action. About the guy whose boiler needs fixing, and so he calls the repair person. The repair person comes over, and he says, I haven't been able to get this work. Nobody's been able to fix it. The repair person looks at it for a little bit, examines a few things, pulls out a little tap hammer and goes in the right spot. The boiler starts working, and so the guy says, great, bill me. So the guy sends him a bill for like $1,500. The guy goes, $1,500? All you did was tap this little thing. He said, you're right, it was $1,495 for knowing where to tap. The tap, $5.
There he is. He's on social media. Rex Sykes, yeah. Welcome to Lunch Therapy. Uh-oh. Now I think we're muted. What's happening?
It's so
There
good to
we
be
are.
here.
You
Just-
sound great.
Well, thank you. I look great too, don't I?
You do.
But
You look great.
my bio could be longer than my segment, but listen, I'm just trying to text you for those tickets. I think that's
Oh, good.
Camel
Yeah.
are going to do ticket. I
Thank
think it's
you.
fabulous. I can be there. That absolutely.
That's great. That's
Cool.
great.
And if I can, somebody take my spot right now.
Yeah. So yeah, that's going to be a super interesting play. It's about a childless couple, and all what that's all
Do they have
about.
cats?
It's a good question. They're thinking about getting a dog. They don't have cats, but they're thinking about getting a dog. But that's even like a big decision for them because there's commitment, and they might treat the dog like a child. It just might be the substitute for a child. But yeah, it deals with those kind of issues, and it's very funny and insightful, and also somewhat tragic, I must say.
Wow. So you'll have a fun evening tonight. That's Friday, tonight
Yeah.
at Coon
Tonight.
Theater. That's awesome.
And also Saturday. So, okay. So I today I got to say this week I was a little down. I don't know about other people out there. It feels like for people that were maybe on the left leaning side, like myself, there's been a lot of buildup and a lot of news and a lot of clickbait and a lot of all this stuff, and it feels like just a waste. You know what I mean? Like it feels like all of the information, whether they're indictments or impeachments or new candidates and old candidates and rallies and all these things, they all come down to this one day, which was last Tuesday, and one side apparently wins everything, which seems to have happened, and the other side feels like they have nothing. And so that's one of the reasons I wanted to bring you on the show today, was because I wanted to know, like, what do we do when there are such kind of seemingly low points in our life on a massive scale? How do we keep our minds right in this kind of situation?
Well, that's a great question. And before we begin to dive in and explain it, let me say thank you to you and Kamala and my sister Ginny. Obviously, of the two of us, I'm the luckier, But thank you and Kamala and Ginny for Equal Means Equal, that project to help assert that the women need to be added. The ERA amendment needs to be ratified, and but that is the issue. Here's, I think, a sad truth, and I'll circle around so that you understand it. First off, people think it's red and blue. and that the wind has been taken out of the sails because one side wins versus the other side wins. But it's really rich and poor. The disparity isn't between the left and the right. It's between those who have a lot and those who have nothing. And the difficulty that we face is that whenever there's a massive move of money from the bottom to the top, those at the bottom have harder times living their lives, obviously, and those at the top, they're riding the gravy train. And that's what has happened to our government from the beginning. The founding fathers said, beware of the corporation and the rise of the oligarchy and those who would seek to corrupt for profit, for power, or prestige. And we've lived that. We've, over the decades, have eroded more and more of the rights of the people, transferred more of the wealth to the top, so that the bottom, 330 million of us, can't oppose a handful of other people. I mean, really, when you think about it, if let's say there's 5,000 people in the government, maybe 10,000, even if there were 100,000, there's 330 million people, and we feel powerless. But we're not powerless. That's what they want us to feel. So if anyone's feeling, whoa, my candidate didn't win, or it's dark, that's how they want you to feel. And if you feel that, then you're helping them do exactly what they want to accomplish. And that's to disempower the people so that people can never take over the government. So if all the money goes to the top and you have no money, what are your resources to fight them? So here's the thing. You can't let it get you down. You have to rise above. And while that may seem insurmountable and we lick our wounds and we feel really bad, it's no different than having to overcome anything every day in life that people encounter. They lose a loved one, their mortgage is foreclosed, they have a breakup with somebody, their car's not working. You have to learn how to get over things and move forward in spite of what seems like difficulty or opposition. And the better that you're able to do that, the more you're able to succeed. And that is why those at the top don't want you to be able to do that. So we end up arguing among ourselves about issues that don't matter. And, this and that and the other thing, so that the top dogs, the oligarchy, can maintain power and the people on the lower side remain powerless. But in order to have power, you have to claim your power and you have to assert your power. That means you have to be accountable to yourself and responsible to yourself and say, I'm not going to let this get me down. I'm going to move forward no matter what. If you look at the people in the world who have succeeded in spite of incredible odds, whether that's Viktor Frankl, who was in a concentration camp, or Oprah Winfrey, who started, very, very poor and had been raped as a child and things like that. Lady Gaga, whether it was Einstein or any of the, Thomas Edison, the Wright brothers, Steve Jobs, any of these people who started and accomplished something had to go, I will not let circumstances dictate who I am or how far I can go. I will dictate the circumstances, and I will decide how far I will go. And I will be the captain of my ship and the master of my fate, no matter what happens. And Frankl said it best. Actually, Gandhi said it best. He said, you can take everything away from me. You can imprison me. You can beat me. You can do that. But you can't take my imagination away. You can't take who I am away from me. And Frankl said, the people who were able to survive a concentration camp, and he did and came out, were those who had hope and those who had a purpose and those who could look and be compassionate in the most incompassionate of circumstances. They were the ones who had helped others. They were the ones who shared their meals, gave their blankets, took care of an insect, in order to further the insect's life, because they understood that humans don't live in isolation. We live together. And so if you help other people rise up and uplift and edify, and you can operate from gratitude no matter what's going on, you can overcome the most egregious of circumstances. We could talk more about that and how you do it, but
I like what you said. There's so many things that I have thoughts about.
Sure.
When you say, one of the things I think is that whether you voted for Trump or whether you voted for Kamala Harris, most of the people who voted for either one of them wanted the same things. They want the same things. They just don't feel like these are the people, they just chose the person they think that's going to give these things. But basically, lower the cost of groceries, lower the cost of gasoline, end the wars. But there seems to be this messaging out there that we're different. We're completely different. There's there are topics that we disagree on, but mostly we agree on the same things. I mean, the basic necessities of life.
If you go back to the founding of this country, and Napoleon Hill wrote about it, in Thinking Grow Rich and the Laws of Success, the flawed people, wealthy landowners, slave owners, left England in reaction to taxes and to tyranny, and came to the United States in order to be self-determined and create their own government, and at the risk of peril. I mean, there was a Revolutionary War, and the people who wrote the Declaration of Independence did so at great peril at that time. And while they were flawed and not perfect people, what they had was a vision for those people. Maybe not every person was represented, but they had a vision that said everybody should have equal access and be able to pursue life, liberty, and happiness, and that all people were created equal, those kinds of things. And they, we ended up with a constitution eventually, but through that process that they went through, they resisted the tyranny, and they fashioned the United States. They united the colonies, and then we became the United 50 States. And the reason why they were successful at the time is because they worked together, they collaborated for this larger vision, this mission of a self-governing body of people who were protecting the rights of individuals and the rights of the people. And from that time, the founding fathers said, beware that people will try to subvert that. They'll try to corrupt it for profit, for power, for prestige, or for whatever reason. So protect it because it's fragile. And here's the interesting thing. That's what we've seen happen through the decades, not just now, but through the decades. More and more has been eroded. The good news is that at the time, what they did was they weren't so concerned with how they would do it, but that they could do it. And where most people are today, and what politics we see is they argue how to accomplish something, and they get locked up in the how instead of what they're trying to accomplish. And you need to go to your purpose. What do we want? We want all people to be taken care of. I mean, what is the purpose of government? In theory, to protect the people. We have representatives who are elected, not leaders who are who are elected. They call themselves leaders, but they are paid to represent the people, and they don't, many of them. They serve their own interests. So we've got to be able to claim that back in order to move forward by going, what is it that we all agree that we want? Do we want to be self-governing? Do we want to be happy? Do we, those kinds of things. How do we want this world to go? We have to create a vision that most people will agree on, and then we can figure out how to make that happen. But until we have a singular vision, a singular mission to unite people instead of divide people, we will remain divided. But the same thing is true about us as individuals. Until we have a singular purpose that we go after in our life, if we have all these conflicts going on, and we're trying to figure out how do I do that, and how do I do this, and how do I do this, and how do I do that, and do this, that's no good, and that's no good. We get caught in this loop of never getting anything really accomplished. So we have to go to a higher purpose. We have to go to what is it that we really want, and get clear on that, and then become certain, be passionate about it, but then become certain that we can accomplish that. And so Napoleon Hill said, if you can conceive it and bring yourself to believe it, then you can achieve it, which is a great thing. But in order to achieve it, two things are required. You have to be able to imagine what it would be like. And then you have to be able to bring yourself to believe that you can accomplish that. And then keep working at it until you accomplish it. And don't give up.
Don't you think that Donald Trump is like a master at that? That he essentially did that? No, you don't. All right, I want to hear that.
Well, yes and no. I mean,
he seems like a master of like closing out the noise and just seeing it the way he sees it, telling it the way he sees it, even if it's not even happening.
Right.
I'll fix it. The things that he says. It seems like he makes his own reality. At least like you were talking about Steve Jobs and how he made his own reality. It seems like that's how he's winning.
Well, that is what, yes, Trump is very good at that, but Trump is also very good at staying on message. Whatever he says, he repeats multiple times in 100 different ways. And if you look at the 9 years, he's never changed his story.
And it's very simple. The very simple story is, things suck, I'll fix it.
It's a bumper sticker mentality. I read it on the back of the car and I go, got it. I mean,
Yeah.
that's it's memorable, and he makes it memorable. And and here again, here's the thing. He understands that he can agitate people and get them fired up for or against things. And the more you complain, and the more you whine, and the more you criticize, and the more you create people, fear and hate and mongering. As the famous saying goes, a lie repeated often enough is substituted for the truth and goes around the world faster, than while the truth is putting on their shoes, the lie has gone all around the world. So yeah, I mean, so there is that.
Well, the truth is putting on their shoes. The lie has gone around the world. Oh my God. Yeah.
But Napoleon Hill said that. He said, and so did Wallace Wattles, who said you have to believe in things even though the appearance is contrary. This is what Steve Jobs called a reality distortion field or machine, is the ability to stay true to your purpose in spite of the circumstances. For example, when the Wright brothers were trying to create a heavier than air aircraft, they were bike manufacturers. Nobody had flown in an airplane. There wasn't one. So they were building this machine and they were attempting to have it take off. And the press, nobody cared about them. The neighbors ridiculed them. Their own dad said, "You guys are idiots. Give it a rest. Come on, everybody hates us because they think you're stupid." And they continued to fail. They continued to try something and it didn't work, and try something and it didn't work, and try something and it didn't work. And they didn't know how to fly until after they flew. Well, once they flew, they went, "Oh my God, we flew. Oh, this is so cool." Now they could improve on it. Yeah. So during the time between when they decided to do it and they successfully did it, they were experimenting.
It's amazing they didn't kill themselves.
Well, right. But one of the tenets of experimenting is you take feedback and you adjust and then you continue. You don't quit. You don't throw in the towel. You don't go, "Shoot, I'm stupid." You say, "What do I need to do differently to make it work? Or what must I do the same in order to make it work?" And you continue the process. So the first thing is they had a burning desire. They were very passionate about the fact that they wanted to fly, and they decided that they could do it. They developed the belief that they could do it. And in spite of all the evidence to the contrary, they maintained that belief and they persisted in the pursuit until they actually did it, which is what Hill said. If you can imagine it, bring yourself to conceive it, and then work towards it, you can achieve it. And for some, that might seem impossible, and that's why I'm here. I mean, a coach. Sometimes people can't figure it out and how to do it alone, in the same way that most Olympic athletes don't become Olympic contenders all on their own. They have coaches, they have guides, they have people who help them in their career. So sometimes you need a person to come along and say, here's what you need to do. Here's how you can do it. I'm here to hold your hand or walk you through it or support you. But the point is it can be done. And there are multiple examples throughout history. Henry Ford, for example, and some people love him, some people don't, said, if you believe you can, if you think you can, or you think you can't, you're correct. Which is a powerful statement. So when he wanted the V8 engine, he went to his engineers. He didn't know anything about making engines. He had to rely on other people. He said, "I want this." And they said, "It's impossible. You can't have it." He said, "I want it. I will have it." And they said, "Well, it's never going to happen." He said, "I'll give you a year." And in a year, he came back and said, "Where are we?" They said, "Man, I mean, you're going to happen." He said, "I'll give you another year." "I want it. I'm going to have it." After 2 years, they came back and said, "Hey, we figured it out." Okay. I mean, in other words, you have to know that things are possible. If you think it's impossible, nothing will ever change. So from possible, it's got to be possible and plausible. And then that, you might be able to do it. You could do it. Then you can do it. And then if you will do it, things can change. So it's a training and a conditioning process. If you want the body that Arnold Schwarzenegger had, a sculpted, chiseled, muscular body, there's things you need to do. You got to eat right, sleep right, and exercise the right amount. But you also have to be willing to go through that process in order to have that kind of body. And if you stop, or if you don't eat right, you don't sleep right, you don't exercise the right amount, you might not get the results that you want. So it's a conditioning process. You don't wake up overnight with it. You don't sit on the chair and eat donuts and turkey legs and go, oh, and then suddenly have this muscular body.
Sometimes I think people, well, that happened to you, of course.
Yeah, it happened to me, but
I don't know. I think that's sometimes the things that people miss with the whole visualization and the dream boards and all these things, is that you have to visualize it, but then you have to start walking towards it, if that's what you want.
I know, that's such a great concept. It's the thing is, people wish and they want. They saw The Secret and they think, oh, if I just imagine it, it'll happen.
And
So
then they get
sit-
frustrated too because they're imagining it. They're like imagining so hard. They maybe sit for like an hour a day and meditate on it. They make these dream boards. They do all these things, and then nothing happens. And they've now proven to themselves that it doesn't work. That's what they're I
Well,
think that's a lot of people.
oh, that's so great. That is so great, and that is the problem people have. They have one foot on the dock and one foot on the boat, and they sit there like this, and they don't get anywhere. And
Yeah.
and it is the preponderance of your energy, your attention, your thoughts that make a difference. In other words, 51% of the country voted a certain way, and so we have a certain result. Well, you have to think the same thing is true if you're trying to accomplish something. You have to have at least 51% of yourself moving in that direction. And the more you have moving in that direction, the better. If it's 50-50, you're just going to keep doing this. If one day it's 65 and the next day it's 25 and the next day it's 85 and the next day it's 1%, you're never going to get where you want. You have to build a steady stream. So there's this saying, a journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. And I go, yes, this is true. But that step first begins with the decision to go on the journey. And then after that, you have to actually walk the world. And here's the interesting thing. People talk about their destination, like I want money, I want a relationship, I want to be happy, I want to be healthy, whatever it is. And they want it, but just wanting it informs their brain that they don't have it. I want something I
They're
have.
the person that wants.
And so what they do is create more wanting and not having. In order to have it, you have to become the kind of person for whom having it is the reality. It means if you can conceive it and believe it, then you can achieve it. So you have to live from the reality that hasn't yet manifested itself yet, but act as if you do. So for example, if you said, what would it be like if I had all the money in the world to do what I want, when I want, where I want? I had the ultimate freedom. Money was pouring in, and that starting place. I would love to be free financially. I'd love to be going on trips. I'd love to be 5-star restaurants. I'd love to be doing these wonderful things. If that is the kind of thing that lights your heart up, that's where you want to stay. Not how you do it, because if you think, how will I ever do that? You'll go, I don't know.
Well, how do you stay there? Okay, so how do you stay there? What are the techniques?
But you got to go back to being a child. When you were a kid and you thought, I'm going to be Peter Pan, you didn't go, well, what if I can't fly?
Yeah. Well, that's one of the things, I think. As you get older, you start to prove one way or the other to yourself. Like that the world is against you or the world is for you or whatever. I don't know.
But keep in mind, you're trained out of it.
Yeah. Oh, you're trained out of it. So as a child, and who trains you out of it?
Your imagination, and then they tell you, hey, you have to be realistic, stop fantasizing, start coloring inside the lines. You can't do this, you can't do that. And if you get 98 wrong on a test, they don't go, oh my God, you got 2 right. Next time you get 3, 4, and 5 right, they go, you don't know anything.
Yeah.
So they take this vibrant, live, energetic creature that has an incredible imagination and stuff it into this kid who sits in a chair for 6 hours a day, being told a lot of the time that they're wrong or that the information that they're regurgitating is correct. And it's none of that information is life transforming. So our system, our media, our government, our religions, our parents, our friends, our peers, the society itself damps down the ability of people to go after their wants, because if you and everybody go after their wants, they'll all be entrepreneurial, they'll be solopreneur, they'll all be successful. They won't need anything else. So we're conditioned. If you look at society's condition, we're conditioned to be worker bees.
Mary Marks says, my motivation is usually negative. I have a threshold of how much I can endure of something shitty, and then I get going. Like lights a fire.
It's true for a lot of people. I mean, it is true for a lot of people, and that's not such a bad thing. If you might tolerate a lot of crap, and stay there for a long time before you decide to move, and that might be a little bit sad.
Mm-hmm.
So, but the point is if you know what you don't want, and go, I'm not willing to accept this, I won't tolerate that, is absolutely unacceptable. Then the question becomes, is what do you want? And knowing what you don't want can clarify that. People will say, I don't want a smoker. But that doesn't tell you what you do want. It just says, I don't want somebody who smokes. Okay, but what do you want?
I think that's one of the huge problems people have, is that they don't know what they want. and
Well,
it's sort of nebulous and changing, and it's vague. So a
well,
lot of
that's
times, so what do people do to define that? What do you recommend people do to
well, you can
define that?
say what I don't want. You can say what I don't like, what I don't want,
What I
and
don't
use
like.
that,
Yeah,
and then choose the opposite.
that's so
You know,
interesting.
if you say I don't want to be
What
fat,
this?
what do you want to be? I
Yeah,
want to be thin. I don't want to. I don't want to be sitting on the couch a slug. I want to have energy. I want to go out. I want to dance. I want to party.
yeah.
I want to have a life. I want to have relationships. I want to have fun. I want to this. I want to dance. I want to sing. I want to hot cha cha. You know, I mean, in other words, you have to turn from the things that you think prevent you or hold you back or that you don't like, and then move toward the things that you do want. And you can use those very things you don't want to propel you towards what you do want. And there's a knack to learning how to do that. But the point is, if you can say, I don't want this, and then turn your attention to which it's like problem solving. If you go, the problem is I have no money. And that's just where you sit. I don't have any money. I don't have any time. I don't have any time. I don't have any friends. I don't have any friends. You're not going to go anywhere. You're not going to do anything. Nothing's going to change. You have to say, I want money to be able to do this. I want friends so that I feel fulfilled. I want to be able to, you have to go from where you are to where you want to be and then occupy where you want to be as if you already are it and live from that vision, from that mission, from that feeling. And it's really the feeling that matters. That's why when I said, if you can imagine going, I am free, I have money, I'm this, I am that, and it lifts you up, live from that energy. Because most people are walking around with this very heavy kind of, I have to have money, can't make my mortgage, I don't do this, the world's going to hell in a handbasket, I don't like the outcome of the election, I don't like this, the other thing. And they're all really good at what they don't want, but that's
They're
piling
not.
up on them.
They're focused on that. Do you think social media and commercialism and what we're consuming every day is leading us much more towards focusing on what we don't want?
Sure. Think about that. The guy who helped create the world that we're in today was a guy named Edwin Bernays. And he
Mm-hmm.
was Sigmund Freud's nephew. And he said he went to the people after having studied Nazi Germany in the 30s and the 40s. He said, we went from being an agrarian society to a manufacturing society. People left the rural areas and moved into the city and then they got jobs. So what do you do with a whole bunch of workers and the conditions aren't good and the hours are long and everything else? You tell them, hey, you got to work and we'll reward you and there'll be a retirement. And you get a gold watch and you do all these things and you're rewarded and everything else so that you stay in the job. You work for 40, and at one time you could work for 40 years and get a retirement. No, that's not so true today.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Mm-hmm.
so the very thing that was promised people in building, the industrial revolution inside this country and the world is no longer necessarily true in our information age. Edward Nase said, I will get people to spend money and we'll move it from a need-based society to a want-based society. So, for example, if you were a farmer and you had a tractor, you didn't need 2 or 3 tractors. You had
Mm-hmm.
your tractor.
Yeah.
Broke down, you get another tractor.
Mm-hmm.
He was the one who said, I'll get him to go on 2 or 3 tractors. And he created the field of what was then called propaganda. And that's exactly what they called it. And he got women to smoke. That was the whole campaign to get women
Really?
to smoke. He used the movie business, everything else. And it was all propaganda. And then they decided, this name might be a little too strong. We're going to change it. And guess what they changed it to?
What?
Public relations.
Public relations, from propaganda to public relations. Mm-hmm.
And most of the people who do public relations don't even know the origin of public relations. So our consumerism is based on having you part from your dollars to keep up with the Joneses. The grass is greener on the other side. You got yellow teeth, flaky skin, stuff in your hair, shit on your shoulders, you smell bad, so that you buy products. And so that you buy into this myth that you're never really truly enough unless there's some outside means that is there for you. What is that outside means? It's either a religion or a political system or a product to help you be more fulfilled and complete, because you're broken on your own. You're not good enough on your own. And I argue that you're wonderful on your own, and then you've been conditioned out of knowing how wonderful you are. And all you have to do is begin to remember that. You have to come back to who you authentically are, who you were. Well, you were mentioning Aurobindo, which Sri Aurobindo.
Orville.
Yes, but Auroville was based
Yeah.
on Sri Aurobindo,
Oh.
who's who's very heady books, in philosophies. But the
Yeah.
idea is that again, it goes back to, if you want to behave in reality, you have to be in there. You have to first exist in reality for that reality to become true. It's
Mhm.
kind of like, our science fiction is based on, if you go into the future, you can change the past. Well, that's exactly what this is truly about. You kind of go into your future to discover who you really were when you were born, before all of the conditioning, all the societal conditioning, parental conditioning, educational conditioning, everything else, to come back to this raw energy that says, I'm alive. I'm a being who can create what I want and attract what I want in my life. I have energy. People say I don't have energy. Think about this. You're a walking, talking, living battery.
I have energy. Yeah,
No, but I mean, think
I
about it. You've
know.
got the cells. They're all based on light and energy. They're all
Well,
working on
you
the
realize that too when you feel really like low energy and you're like, oh, I don't have any energy anymore. I'm getting older or whatever. And then something exciting happens to you, and
and you
you
forgot.
can do it for like 24 hours and have all kinds of energy.
Oh, that's why it said, if you love what you're doing, you never work a day in your life, because you'll
Yeah,
go without eating. You'll do it. You work. You do this because it's passion. That's why Hill said you have to be passionate about what you want and believe that you can do it in order to continue to do it.
yeah.
But it starts with the idea. It starts with the imagination. It starts with that being alive. And the brain works by feelings. The body is the feeling machine that informs the brain. So when you get good news and you go,
Yeah.
or you get bad news and you go, oh, think about it. You don't remember every lunch. Well, there might be some people who do, but you don't remember every lunch you ate. But you remember the ones that stand out because either you felt really good or some significant event occurred or whatever. I mean, the signal value for us is our emotions, our feelings, the highs and lows in life. And some people dwell on all of the bad things that went wrong because that's predominantly what they think about and feel most of the time. And others think about what really went right, what's really wonderful, and what they're really grateful for, and what they really appreciate, and how life is wonderful and grand. But you have a choice. It's dog crap or diamonds, and you have to choose. And
I
for
did a
some,
thing last night where I like to write 750 words a day, just as a
uh-huh.
practice. And last night I just wrote down all the great things that have happened to me in my life.
you,
And it
you,
was like it made me feel really good. Because a lot of times as comedians, we kind of focus on the crappy things because we find humor in it, because
right?
it's a way to connect with the audience. But writing, just that practice of writing down all these incredible things that have happened in my life, just made me feel like just so tremendously good. And I think it was really because I was trying to get out of a funk, and it worked.
And that, no, and that's a beautiful practice, and do it every day. 40 years ago when I started my workshops, I said, write 25 things for which you're grateful for, that you appreciate about your life, things, people, events, circumstances, yourself, whatever it is. And people go, 25?
That's a lot of work.
Yeah. And so, but after 2 or 3 days, they go, could we write more? And I go, I'm
Yeah,
not preventing you. Of course you can write more. But once you start that flow and you begin to appreciate, because appreciation appreciates.
yeah.
It grows. The more you do, the more you can find. And that is it. You know who the most disparaged person in history is?
Who?
Pollyanna.
Pollyanna? Who's Pollyanna? I know the
Oh,
phrase.
Pollyanna. Oh, don't you miss Pollyanna? Pollyanna is this little girl who they go, oh my God, Pollyanna, you don't want to be like Pollyanna. Toxic positivity. There's no such thing as toxic positivity. There's no such thing as finding too much good. And all Pollyanna's skill was to look at a situation and look for the good in it, look for the silver lining and go, let's focus on the silver lining instead of all the crap.
One of the
So,
greatest joys in life is having gratitude for other people,
yeah.
like, and supporting them, and going to their shows and going to their stand-up comedy and reading their books. And that's, for me at least, I don't think people realize the tremendous joy you can get out of it. It's almost selfish to go and support somebody, you know? And I
No,
do
but,
think,
but
yeah,
that's a beautiful, I'm so happy you said that. That's beautiful.
yeah. And so I think also having a community of people that have gratitude rather than having a community of people that are just always pissed off about everything.
Well, there are writers groups, there are knitting groups, there are all sorts of hobby groups, everything. How about having a gratitude group? Get together with other people and express your gratitudes. I start my workshops and have people ask this question all the time. And in the workshops, the live in person, we would throw, you know what a koosh ball is? Like a,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know, so you throw a koosh ball, somebody go, what's good and new?
Hmm.
And they have to say what's good and new. And the interesting thing for most people is good isn't that hard. They go, oh, I had a donut. That was good. Well, and it's new because I never had a donut like that. But that's the past.
Yeah.
And it's okay to acknowledge the past, but what's good and new right now?
Hmm.
Right now, what is good and new? What are you discovering at this moment?
Right now.
What are you paying attention to? Everything's going to be a little bit past, but if I'm sitting outside and I go, I see the trees, I feel the air, right now I'm experiencing this, you know, live in the present a little bit more and express the gratitude and find the good inside the present. And when it appears that there is no good, look harder.
Do you ever feel like when you have to speak something that you're grateful for in public, do you ever feel a pullback? Like, I don't want to say this because it'll seem like I'm gloating. You know, like you won that great award. You won that award, I think it was about a year ago. That beautiful award that you won about public service.
Yeah.
And, you know, did you ever feel like, what?
No, I was going to say, I guess you make a point. I don't talk about it very much.
Yeah.
Because it's not like I want to wear that as some kind of mantle.
But tell us about it. Tell us about it and tell me how it feels to tell us about it.
Well, I'm okay with it. I got the Presidential Lifetime Achievement Award for giving service to people and helping people uplift and edify their lives. I'm not at all shameful about that. You know, and it's in my bio or in my resume or whatever you want to call it, because it is one of the things that have been conferred on me by, you know, the president and the vice president. So fantastic. But
do you ever feel like you have to downplay things in your life because you feel like maybe somebody's going to be like vindictive against you because of it? I mean, it seems really weird to say this, but I think probably people can understand what I'm talking about. You feel like you're gloating. You know, there's all these words that people say to kind of make you feel bad about that. You're.
I attempt to live from that reality distortion.
You attempt to.
You know, there are people who say set boundaries. Okay. Fine. I don't care. You can set boundaries. They'll go, don't say things because people might try and steal your ideas. I grew up in Hollywood, you know, that was all.
I think that is the biggest fallacy. That, like, if you're going to say something, that somebody's going to steal it and go and make it. No, the hard part is making it. The hard part is not coming up with the idea. Everybody's got ideas. The hard part is sticking with it. Like, we had a guy on last week who has done 2 feature films, and his parents were migrant workers. And he was able to direct 2 feature films and is going to direct another one. But that's because he persisted through, like what we're talking about, through any kind of doubts, because there's a million of them. His own doubts, other people's doubts, money, getting everybody to work on it together, getting people to donate their time sometimes even. But that's the pursuit of that. But anybody that goes, oh, I'm not going to mention this because somebody's going to steal it. Well, God bless them if they can make it happen.
But, you know, and on top of it, I mean, there are people who will say, you know, don't talk about it because people will be envious. They'll try and thwart you or sabotage you or interfere with what happening. You know, well, okay. But you know what? Here's my argument. There are so-called enlightened people in the world.
Yeah.
I mean, some people would agree on that. Maybe they won't. How about Jesus? Jesus was criticized. Do you think it got him down?
Well, I think it probably did.
No, but I'm saying,
he said, "Why hast thou forsaken me?"
Well, right, but that's an interesting. We could discuss that for hours. But here's the side. First off, he didn't walk around going, "I'm the healer. I healed you, by the way, with 2 fish and a bunch of some loaves. I fed a crowd. Don't I deserve some accolades here?" You know, and people criticized him and everything. And when Pontius Pilate said, "Hey, you know, who are you? What do you say you are?" He just remained quiet. You know, there's if you let it bother you, it will bother you. That's why I go as dog, crap, or diamonds. You have to make a choice. It's not that you never think a negative thought or that you always think a positive thought. It's that you learn how to manage your thoughts. And when you discover yourself are moving in the wrong direction, you're smart enough to correct it. That's what your GPS tells you. It's going, turn around, turn around, turn around, turn around, turn around. And it's kind of an idiot if you go, if you're really trying to find the place, you'd be an idiot not to pay attention to it. And so our circumstances, our doubts, our angers, our frustrations, the bad things that happen, the people who are egregious in our lives, are all those kinds of things saying, wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. or shift or shift or shift or turn around, turn around, turn around. If you understand it's a signal, it's a message. I don't have to be this way. I can do something different. I don't have to feel this way. I can feel something different. The problem is that people have been taught, well, you feel that way, so that's the only way that you can feel, and so you must do that, or you must resolve your feelings, or you must find your limiting beliefs, or you must do these things. Well, those are all beliefs, and they will serve those people who believe them to the extent that they serve them, you know. And so it's about learning how to have wisdom, you know. If you go to a buffet and you pick up something and you, oh my God, that's terrible, you spend the next year arguing about telling people how terrible that was, or you pick up something you'd rather have
Yeah.
and eat that. You
Yeah.
know, that's like a choice. You've got all these things, you just don't pick the ones you don't like, and you pick the ones that you do like. The same thing with the thoughts and with the feelings in your life. Choose wisely, but choose the ones that move you forward and make you feel better and help you to move your life the way you want to do. Don't sit and wallow. When I was a kid, I used to sit in the back of my parents' car on trips going, I hate this, I hate this. Oh God, are we there yet? When I liked being with the relatives. I liked being
Yeah.
at Disney. I liked being whatever, but I hated getting there. Now I understand this. You may never make the destination, realistic, survive, live, or otherwise. You know, anything could happen to prevent someone from getting the destination. So all you have is the journey. So what's your journey going to be? What's
Yeah.
your story going to be? You know, are you going to write a story that says, I lived, I loved, I had fun, I moved forward. There were things that tried to prevent me, but I went through them. I'm the kind of person who's resilient. I'm flexible. If I don't know how to do it, I can learn to do it. You know, that's all about being a resilient thinker, about being able to problem solve, about being creative, about, you know, being intuitive, about tapping into your own genius, as opposed to letting circumstances or events or people or yourself hold you back or hold you down.
I also love the idea of loving the
And I write
process,
about all this in my book. What?
of loving the process. You know, the process of what you're doing and honing that process and not always going, did I get the thing that I wanted to get or that I feel like I need? Or are you actually just honing the life that you're living in right now and just like, how can I make it 1% better?
So, so
Yeah.
I had a couple auditions recently that were big auditions, big, in
Yeah.
terms of money, prestige, everything. Didn't get either of them.
Hmm. And what?
You know what's cool?
What?
That I had those auditions.
Yes.
You know what's cool is that I met some important people. You know what's even cooler is some of the important people I met liked me and have contacted me and said, we will work together. You didn't get it. We went a different way, but we like you. Now, marrying it never happened, but you know what? I like that. I didn't get it. The door appeared to be closed, but as Helen Keller said, when a door appears to be closed, you got to look for the other one. And she was blind. The other one was,
That's
and
what I
said,
love about you, Rex, is you are having your own life. And it's totally like your book says, life on your terms. You are living that. And when you look at all the things that you've done, and I don't know what happened with the jumping out of an airplane. Can you tell us a little bit about the parachute problem?
Yeah, it wasn't so much that I got injured in the parachute thing. It was the aftermath, and I write about it in my book just a little bit. But it was a catalyst for the things I changed. I went to a doctor. I got misprescribed a combination of pills that should have proved fatal or put me into a coma. They didn't. I survived. They considered me a medical miracle for having survived the medicines that I took. But at the time, I lost all my friends. I lost my movie career. I lost a relationship that I liked very much. I lost my self-esteem and then I lost myself in drugs and alcohol trying to figure the whole thing out.
I remember you
And
talking
ultimately,
about how you...
I locked myself in my apartment after you know, almost a year of this. I said I got to do something, and I vowed to myself I wouldn't leave until I could figure out how to face the world confidently and with enough positive energy or whatever in order to move forward. And so I do write about it in the book. The process is in the book. I teach it in my workshop. For 50 years now, I've been teaching this process.
The link is in the show notes to that. Also, you have a program that's about Einstein and Tesla. Can you tell us a little bit about that? I'm sure that's a big question.
Well, Einstein, Tesla, and Walter Russell, Da Vinci, there are a number of people. Elmer Gates was one. or people who use their minds in very particular ways, and to be creative, and not only we're very smart, but to innovate. And so what I've done is I put together a process of here's how to be more creative using how Einstein did it, and here's how Tesla did it. You don't go into the history too much of it. It's using
Yeah.
the principles and the practices, how to become more intuitive, more creative, overcome problem solving, how to visualize, how to be able to create the kind of life you want and to live the kind of wonderful life you want. It's called Create Your Best Life using Einstein and Tesla's genius. And you're a genius when you're living the kind of life that you want to be living.
Yeah.
You know, and
that's when you're a genius.
Yeah, I mean, who cares how smart you are if you can't live your life?
Yeah.
If you can know every fact and fiction about everything and not be able to be happy. That's not really. You can have all the money in the world and not be. People call me in. I get millionaires and billionaires who've called me in, and celebrities in every walk of life who go, look at everything I have. I've got this, I got that, I got this. But I'm not fulfilled. I don't feel good. I feel, whatever. They turn to drugs, alcohol, and suicide and other things. So the smart ones, the wise ones, call me in and go, "What do I need to do? Can you help me?" And so and now as the holidays are coming up and things like that, people really need to know what you said earlier. If you help people, you get to feel good too. It's almost selfish, but we're in this together. Collaborate, cooperate, edify, uplift. I always say, speak only to bless, edify, heal, inspire, prosper, transform, and uplift. In other words, for yourself and for other people. If you want to put forth good stuff to yourself and other people. And then you'll come to believe it. A lie repeated enough times.
There we go. Back to that. You can either use this force for good or for bad, or
I originated the weave, and that's the whole point. He doesn't know what he's talking about when he says the weave. He's just making it. But
what's the weave? What is the weave?
The weave is what we call nested loops. It comes from computers. I didn't invent the concept of nested loops, but it's a computer where programming is nested inside each other. So you go in a certain way and come out a certain way. So in storytelling, you can begin stories and change and start and stop stories. It's a way of engaging attention. And I always said, when you speak, it's about weaving a tapestry together. And so some people have called it the weave. I don't know how he heard about it, but I'm just saying, Trump now says, I'm doing weave. And I'm like, no, you're not. No, you're not.
Oh, I know when he was talking about that. That's when people were saying to him,
he makes no sense.
Just babbling, and he's talking about sharks and all this stuff. He's doing the weave.
That's fractionating. That's dividing. That's creating chaos in a person's mind, so they have no clue what's going on. The art of what he does is he speaks nonsense 90% of the time, but the message he wants you to remember is, I'm the best. People come up to me. They all have tears in their eyes. I'm the greatest. I'm the only one who can solve your problems, blah, 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 blah. And then it's couched with all this other stuff that you tune out on.
He is relentless about the message that I'm winning and I'm the best. And it's the best that's ever. Yeah.
And he's never changed it. He's on point, on target the entire time. But the thing is you can use that for less than glorious means or control or manipulation, but you can also use it to manipulate yourself toward really good things and to help other people find the best in themselves if you want to.
It's like the force, I guess.
It's like the force. The force is strong within you, but it's also like a fork.
It's like a fork.
Well, I mean, you can use it to eat or stab someone.
It's so true. Oh my God, we've reached the end of the show, unfortunately. This has been really.
If people want to do Einstein Genius, is there do you have a link there for them? Because it's rexsykes.com.
Yeah, it's in the show notes. It's rexsykes.com/Einstein. Yes, definitely. Let me put that on the screen too. Bonnie, could you?
I love you. You do such a great job and such a wonderful show, and you inspire and encourage and help people through humor, through lunch therapy, through talk, through conversation. And like I said at the beginning of the show, you and Kamala and my sister Ginny did very important work with the documentary Equal Means Equal, and you've not stopped working on helping that become a reality in our country, and hopefully someday soon that will be a reality, and you and Kamala and Ginny will be responsible for being part of making that happen.
Thank you so much for saying that, Rex. I really appreciate it. And I love your sister. When we went to Michigan together, that was so much fun. We had such a great time. But we've had so many great journeys together. So, yeah, just grateful to have met you and Ginny, and grateful to have you in our lives.
Likewise. And I want to come and hang out at your backyard because I think it's magnificent.
Okay, great. Sounds good. All right, let's do the dance break. I got a main squeeze, they're called. And hope everybody has a great weekend. If you want to come see the shows, please send a message to, go to my website, joelmarshall.com, and send me a message. All right, let's dance it out. Thanks again, Rex. Appreciate it. All right, this is main squeeze. Doing a little Tears for Fears.
Welcome to your life.
This is an LA-based band.
There's no turning back.
Got great covers on their YouTube channel.
Even while we sleep.
They're so talented, these guys. They're in a yurt. I think they're in a yurt,
They
right?
will find you acting on your best behavior. Turn your back on Mother Nature. Everybody wants to rule the world. If I rule the world, yeah. I love them, yeah. It's my own design. Oh, yeah. It's my own remorse.
All right, thanks everybody for being here. This is Lunch Therapy, number 603, I believe. 4, I don't know. Thanks, Rex Sykes. We'll see you all next week for more Lunch Therapy.